What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to the channel. We had that week off. It sucked real bad, but we have a fight night this weekend, something to be excited about. And if you missed my last prediction video, I went 12-1 on the Bautista versus Oliveira card. I'm looking to go 100% this week, so let's see how I can get it done. Starting off, Carly Judice versus Juliana Miller. Now, Judice has momentum going into this fight. She's on a 2-fight finish streak. She's got the better finishing potential. Her herself has never been finished in a fight. She's only lost by split decision. So she's 2 judges' scorecards away from being an undefeated prospect. Miller, on the other hand, she has been finished, and she has been finished in the UFC. She's basically well, I guess her last fight was kind of lackluster. She's kind of turning into a 50-50 UFC fighter. And she's losing fights by unanimous decision and by finish. Carly Judice is losing by split decision. I think Judice just has the skill advantage here, and it's going to show this weekend. I'm going with Carly Judice for the win. Next up, Yadir Del Valle versus Jordan Levitt. Now, Jordan Levitt is basically a one-dimensional grappler, and he's, in the grand scheme of things, ever so slightly above average in the grappling. Like he's slightly above mid at grappling. And to be that one-dimensional with that low of a specialized skill, it's just not going to work against someone like Del Valle. I mean, Del Valle he's won both of his fights in the UFC by submission, so he himself can grapple. And just by doing the eye test, looking at these guys, Del Valle is going to have a significant physicality advantage over Levitt. So I don't see Levitt getting this one done. Once again, just like the last fight, Levitt's a 50-50 UFC fighter. Del Valle is the new upcoming prospect. I think this is basically a layup for Del Valle. Next fight up, Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani versus Philip Rowe. At one time, this would have been a pretty hot prospect fight, but at this point in Philip Rowe's career, this is a changing of the guard fight if we've ever seen one. Rowe is only getting older. He's basically old at this point. He's 1-3 in his last 4. His career is basically starting to spiral. Where on the other hand, Lebosnoyani has momentum. He's younger. He's looked good in his last couple fights. And I think, like I was saying, a couple years ago, this may have been an interesting fight. But at this point, they're just serving up Philip Rowe on a platter for the younger guy to get a win. I'm going with Lebosnoyani. I got to figure out how to say this guy's name. Moving on. Rames Brahimaj versus Puniele Soriano. Now, both of these guys have momentum at the moment. Brahimaj is on a 3-fight finish streak, and I personally just can't get the 185-pound version of Soriano out of my head, where he just got absolutely murdered fight after fight after fight. And on paper, it's a basic striker with Soriano versus more of a grappler with Brahimaj. So striker versus grappler. But Soriano coming down in weight to 170 pounds, I think it's just going to be hugely apparent the skill gap in those 2 weight classes, and Brahimaj is going to get this one done pretty easily. Up next, Nora Knoll versus Jocelyn Edwards. Now this one is a rematch. Nora Knoll won the original fight however many years ago it was. But that was when Edwards was much younger. She's improved since then. She's 3-0 in her last 3, whereas Knoll is 1-2 in her last 3. Knoll has a history of missing weight. It's harder to make weight as you get older. I don't know if that's a lack of motivation or just training problems, but Knoll has had problems on the scale. The funny thing is she's won both of her fights in the UFC where she's missed weight. So it's almost like she just doesn't want to cut weight sometimes and decides not to cut weight. Cutting weights for chumps, apparently. But she's getting older. She has had weight problems. Edwards is kind of on the uptick. I got to go with Edwards in this one. I think she's going to finally get it done and take revenge. Moving on. Alden Correa versus Luis Garul. Correa is definitely the more well-rounded fighter. He's beaten better competition, and Garul has yet to show that he even belongs in the UFC. He's 0-2 in the UFC, not a single UFC win. He's basically a guy that got signed and just has done nothing but lose. He's shown over and over he's not UFC level. Where on the other hand, Corey at least has a couple wins in the UFC. So I mean, I think their skill levels are just night and day different, even though their records are very similar. I'm going with Corey to get this one done. Moving on, Ode Osborne versus Alibi Idris. Now, Idris is a more reliable fighter. He's never finished early in a fight, which I think is going to be Ode Osborne's best chance to get a win here. Ode Osborne is going to need an early finish if he's going to get this one done. And I don't see Ode doing that. He'll be dangerous early, but I think Idris is going to weather the storm and just take over as the fight goes on and get the W in the end. Next up, Chidi Njokuani versus Carlos Leal. Now, there's a reason this one was scheduled to headline the prelims, because this one is a low-key banger. It's just going to be like a bar fight. Just two guys trying to KO each other and not caring about anything else. The question is, has Leal learned anything from his Salikov loss? I think he has. I think he's going to be a little bit more cautious. And with that little bit more caution, a little bit more strategy going in there, I think Leal's going to get this one done over Njokuani. Next up, Zach Reese versus Michel Pereira. This one is actually an extremely hard fight to pick, because what we're really picking is, do we think Pereira is going to get a first-round finish against Zach Reese? And Zach Reese's 2 losses have been first-round finishes. So Zach Reese is kind of prone to getting finished in the first round sometimes, and he's fighting a guy who's known for first-round finishes. So Pereira is going to be super dangerous as soon as the fight starts. But I think we're going to see Reese weather the storm. I mean, Pereira's on his 3-fight losing streak. He hasn't looked good at all lately. I don't know what's going on with his career, but I'm going with Zach Reese on this one. Basically, you can't pick Pereira anymore until he proves us otherwise. After his last few performances, they've just been pitiful. So, going with Zach Reese. Moving on, Jacob Smith versus Josiah Harrell. This is another one that's super, super, super tough to call, because some people think Jacob Smith is a super hot prospect. He is 11-0. That's a good record. He just beat Nico Price, but it's Nico Price. Nothing to see here. And he completely gassed after the first round. I mean, maybe it was the adrenaline dump of thinking he was going to get a finish, but he didn't look as impressive against Nico Price as you would expect some like really touted prospect to look. Where on the other hand, Josiah Harrell, this guy is a very well-respected prospect in his own right. However, he's taken this fight on literally 1 week's notice. So I feel like if Harrell had a full camp to prepare for this, game plan, get in shape, he would probably be the favorite. But on 1 week's notice, he did have a fight about 1 month ago. And if he had just been sitting on the couch for this past month, he would have definitely lost some cardio, or to where he probably could have gone like 2 rounds out of the 3. He'd still have some cardio, but he would not have 3-round cardio. So we don't know how much he's been in the gym since his last fight, not expecting to have another fight anytime soon. But I mean, just all these unknowns with Harrell, you just have to go with Jacoby Smith. He's got proven UFC wins. Even if he didn't look great against Price, he still has that UFC experience where he's proven he is better than fighters in the UFC. Whereas Harrell's too much of a question mark, and the short notice thing is just, it's almost impossible to pick a fighter on 1 week's notice. So going with Smith on this one. Next up, Sergey Spivak versus Ante Deliha. Basically, this one's much easier than the last two. Spivak's not going to be able to get a takedown. He won't be able to take down Deliha, and he's going to get outstruck on the feet. I don't know if Deliha's going to get a finish or not, but Deliha is definitely going to win this fight. Sergey Spivak is going to continue his path down the UFC rankings. Moving on, Dan Ige versus Melquizael Costa. Costa is on a crazy win streak right now. I mean, not the craziest, but a 5-fight win streak in the UFC is extremely impressive. He's probably feeling invincible. He's got all this momentum behind him, whereas Dan Ige is coming off a completely bland, boring loss to Pitbull. a loss where he basically did nothing, a loss where if he fights the way he fought against Pitbull, he will lose to Costa, like easy. Costa is he's a more well-rounded fighter than Ige. And like I said, the momentum, everything is pointing to Costa in this. Ige is basically a one-punch knockout merchant, just trying to land that big overhand and hope for the best. Whereas Costa is a skilled mixed martial artist who's going to have more tools to get the job done. So I'm going with Costa in this one. Next up, Jeff Neal versus Uros Medic. Now, when you look at Neal's record, you're going to see a lot of losses, like a lot of losses. You can see his record right there, 16-7. But he's only losing to the absolute best fighters in the UFC. If you're not at the extreme top tier of the UFC, he's not losing to you. And not only is he not losing to you, he's most likely finishing you. And Uros Medic simply is not a top tier UFC fighter. So this is a pretty clear and easy win for Neal. Neal's probably going to get a finish because he knocks out lots of people that don't deserve to be on his level. And I'm not even sure why they booked this fight, to be honest. It's a really weird co-main event, but I'm going with Neal on this one. Main event time, Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez. Now, there are lots of arguments for Strickland to win this fight. You can say Strickland's got more experience. He's got more UFC experience. He's got higher level UFC experience. He has better wins. He's beaten better fighters in the UFC. You can also say Hernandez his whole bread and butter is his grappling, supposedly. Supposedly he's like some grappling phenom, but he did not look like a phenom against Brendan Allen. He looked like a decently trained MMA fighter and just had better cardio than Allen. And when you look at Hernandez's fights, lots of his wins are him just burning people's cardio down, him being, a cardio maxer and just wearing out his opponent. I don't think he's going to gas out Sean Strickland. That's another reason why people think Strickland is going to win this fight. Strickland's got great cardio. He can go 25 minutes when he needs to. He's not going to gas out. And people say Strickland's got good takedown defense. We haven't seen it that often, but we've seen him get up. Like when I think Abbas Magomedov took him down, he was able to get up and finish Abbas in that fight. Strickland has all these things pointing to him getting the job done. But I'm going with Hernandez. And here's why. People are going to say Hernandez isn't going to be able to get a takedown. Hernandez isn't, if he gets a takedown, he's not going to be able to hold Strickland down for very long. Both of those things can be 100% true, and Hernandez can still win this fight because he doesn't have to take Strickland down. He doesn't have to hold Strickland down. All he has to do to win this fight is push Strickland against the cage. If he can back him up with pressure and get him against the cage, make it a dirty in-fight, just dirty boxing, knees to the thigh, all that stuff that we hate to watch for 25 minutes. But if Hernandez can make this a stinker, just a vintage Marab stink fest of a fight, he's going to win this fight. Strickland will, he'll give up 2 rounds probably early, thinking he's got more time, and Hernandez isn't doing anything. He'll be making faces to the ref as he's being held against the cage, and Hernandez is just doing like little body shots and knees to the thigh. But he's going to lose 2 rounds. Then he's going to be down on the scorecards, and he's going to have to kick it up a gear, put it into overdrive. The problem is Strickland does not have any high gear. He just has go and stop, go and stop. That's all Strickland does. So once Hernandez is already up on rounds, Strickland has no way to come back and take the fight back in his favor. His only chance is to land a lucky punch, which Strickland basically has no finishing potential. I know he has a couple finishes in the UFC. He finished Abbas, but it's because Abbas completely gassed out trying to finish Strickland. Hernandez isn't going to gas out. Hernandez, say what you will about his grappling, he's got the gas tank, he's got the grit, he's not going to quit. And if he can make this a dirty fight, like I said, make it a dirty Marab-looking cage fight, just up against the cage the whole time, where the ref has to separate him 4 or 5 times across the fight because nothing's happening, he will win this fight without a single takedown, without any control time on top, with Strickland on the bottom. Hernandez will get this one done. So there you go, going with Hernandez. Going for 100% picks this time. I'll catch y'all on Sunday and we'll see how I did. I hope you make some money.